Welcome to Deeper with Darshana, where we skip the small talk and dive down into what's raw and real. Pleasure, shame, justice, power, healing, liberation. These essential aspects of our human experience are among my favorite topics to explore, and I'm inviting you to join me. I'm your host, Darshana Avila, somatic sex and trauma expert and creator of the Erotic Wholeness Method. It is my belief that we are erotic by nature, and our erotic nature encompasses so much more than you might realize. Come along as I drop into curious conversations with other passionate pros and sensual seekers, and occasionally share musings of my own. Bring your curiosity, your sacred, messy, beautiful humanity, and all the parts of yourself. And let's go deeper together. Seriously, it's just fun being in a conversation with somebody who does not feel shame, who is open, who is curious when it comes to the topics that we want to know about. And that is exactly what you are in for today. I am in conversation with Amy Baldwin, who is one of the hosts of the Shameless Sex podcast. In addition to being the lead educator for Uberlube, the co-owner of a mother-daughter sex toy shop, Amy's got the pedigrees. And we had a phenomenal conversation about conversations. How do you actually talk about sex? How do you bring these into the relationship? How do you start to name your desires? We talked about sex toys. We talked about getting creative. We talked about repair. So many juicy things. I'm psyched for you to listen to this episode. So please enjoy, and I will see you on the other side. Welcome back to Deeper with Darshana and Amy. I am thrilled to be in this conversation with you. Thank you for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm so happy that you started a podcast. To your listeners, Darshana has been on Shameless Sex many times, and we have certain guests. We're like, you can always come back. Do you want to come back every quarter? And you are one of those people because I really, really value the way you approach sexuality, communication, romance, intimacy, and so many other things.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Okay. So now that I've gotten my eagle, I'm going to see if I can dish it back to you though in a slightly different way. Do you know that we've known each other for 10 years?
Yes, actually, I wasn't thinking about like directly to with you, but just about the somatica training that was 10 years ago.
So you met 10 years ago, both in a sex and intimacy training. That was like the better part of a year. And we had these in-person modules, and I don't remember like a ton of direct interaction between us, but here's my takeaway. It's like, she's like a Barbie doll in the best possible. So like you've got that long,
the big curly blonde hair, yeah,
the beautiful mane of hair, and I'm like, you have this brightness about you, and I was like, wait, and she's freaky.
Yeah, and like non-traditional Barbie.
Totally non-traditional Barbie.
I have real breasts, everyone, and I do have genitals, just so you know.
Yes.
But yeah,
I've been at parties where your genitals have been on display.
Yeah, you have seen my genitals, yeah, of course, and happy that you have. Yeah, I really enjoy them.
So now that the audience has a sense of our backstory. Amy hosts the Shameless Sex podcast along with her other half, April, who's not with us today, but we say, hi, April, we love you too. But I just think the fact that you have created an entire life talking about sex is a conversation worth having. Like, it still remains, despite what we do and how normal and natural it can feel, like it still remains some edgy shit for so many people to even broach the subject of their sexuality. So I was someone who is so dedicated to this. Why? Like, what have you learned? What have you observed about why it is still so tricky for people to talk about sex?
Well, and I can link that to and I won't go too deep in the origin story for myself, but so I got into this field I was raised with more openness about talking about sex. Like, I didn't have that upbringing stating that you need to wait till marriage to have sex, right? It was very much like, you're going to probably do this as a teenager. And these were conversations with my own mom. She did not teach me about pleasure. That's will lead to the other part of why I got into this world, and what is missing and why this is hard for a lot of people. But I did know that I could go to her when I had decided I wanted to have penetrative sex. I mostly am intimate with penis owning individuals, and there was no shame about it. So I already had that, and then I took a human sexuality class in community college, and I loved every second of it. And I had penetrative sex, I think at that point, with like 5 different people. I'd never had an orgasm from another human or my own hands, but I had had orgasms from vibrators. So I love sex toys, everyone. This is, and since then I have learned to have orgasms other ways, but I do not want to shame. If you only orgasm from sex toys, there's no shame about that. But I had so many questions about my own body, all these things. It's just like, I'm confused. So I actually was a little more set up to be able to talk about sex, but didn't understand it, but still didn't fully have the language. Like, I mean, if you look at me in my teenage years compared to my 20s to my 30s, and now I'm 40, the level of sexual communication has only grown. So no, I was not like, hey, here's what I want, here's what I don't want, right? Like, I did not know that when I was a teenager. I was not taught that. And so that's why I got into this field. I was like, if I'm going to go to school for X amount of years, it might as well be something that I want to learn about, that I truly am like, I want to learn for me and can turn into a career of some sort. I thought I'd be a sex therapist. I'm not a therapist. I do sex and relationship coaching, just like similar to what you do, although we have kind of different focuses. We are not, for most people, and I'll just speak to US culture, for most people is not being modeled to you by certainly not your parents. For most people, like talking openly about sex, even showing their own love and romance, right? Like, not saying parents should have sex in front of you, but parents even showing them, like, yeah, maybe even grabbing a butt cheek or, things like that. And then them talking to you about sex beyond just what you should do and shouldn't do, right? The pleasure aspect of it it's just not, and then we were certainly not learning that even in comprehensive sex education. It's not a part of it as well. So what we learn is through porn, social media, our peers, which is more like, honestly, it's kind of like shit talking, heckling, joking, or like, I mean, I don't want to say the word raunchy, that is saying that all sexuality is raunchy, but more for it's more entertainment, right? It's not actually accurate in the many possibilities of how we can do this. So if you're one of those people and you're like, I don't know how to do this, you are not alone. This is most humans that I know.
It's so real. And I it might have been on somebody else's podcast, or there was a moment when I made a statement about porn as entertainment, not education. And someone pushed back respectfully saying like, no, but I've learned things from porn. And totally, you can learn things from entertainment, but it still doesn't mean that its foundational purpose for being is to teach, right?
Yeah.
So you can learn, oh, I'm curious about that. Oh, maybe I want to try this out. But in terms of that being where you go for like solid sex ed, no.
Yeah. And there is educational porn out there. And it's, or even like Erica Lust's site. Erica, she's amazing. And not all of her porn is, it's not all designed to be educational, but it's ethical. And they almost always show negotiation, boundaries, right? And so it does exist, but I'll say like at least 90+% of the porn out there is not doing that. It's not showing you the accurate way to do anal sex, to have a threesome or all kinds of things, because they're also not showing like the hard stuff, which is very much the conversations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so a little more about your personal journey then to learning how to communicate, how to have these conversations. Because, I relate to what you said. Like, I grew up in a household where I wasn't really being shamed around my sex. It wasn't a secret. When I started becoming sexually active in my teen years, my parents were the first people I told. And none of that means I really knew how to talk about it well. right? Like that wasn't part of the the exchange there. So how did you go about it? Fumbling around and then finessing it.
A lot of trial and error. So much trial and error. I mean, when I look back at my, again, like late teenage years and a large portion of my 20s, like I'll say even to my later 20s, um, I mean, I'm a people pleaser. I'm a caretaker, caregiver. I think a lot of women could identify with that, but I know plenty of penis owning folks, men that could as well, and all in betweens, right? Um, so definitely have some of that, and I, I can say this on your show. My show's a little harder to say this, but patriarchy is a thing.
Wait, it's hard to say patriarchy on your show.
On our show, oh my goodness, we get, because I mean, what I will say is like the bigger your show gets, the more haters you will get, and
right, that's real.
so the trolls and the feedback, and they're like, just stick and I know patriarchy doesn't even well, it is political, but we get the like, stay in your own lane. I come here to just learn about fun things about sex, and I was like, we're April. Yeah. It's super frustrating for us. Yeah. And I actually generally don't give a fuck. Like, you can send me all the emails, but when it's killing our reviews and we're now, it's harming our ability to access more humans to listen, I care about that. So that's super frustrating.
I feel like that's separate from what we're here to talk about, because that right there is a huge cock block to communication. Yeah. It's like, instead of, hey, let's look at the way that certain cultural and systemic things are the reason why it's so hard to communicate, that's just reinforcing it.
And I'll help your patriarchy conversation if you think patriarchy is just man-hating. Men, penis owners, have it really hard too, because they are not taught to speak, even more so than I'll say most women. I'm generalizing, right? To speak about their emotions, the hard feelings, their like sexual desires, kind of normal, but like all the other stuff. So the setup is just kind of screwed for everyone, not just kind of, very much so. And that's why I chose to seek this out on my own. With sexual communication, I will say choosing to go into the profession of human sexuality, I learned a lot about that. I went to San Francisco State, minored in human sexuality, degree in psychology, and then went on to do sex education certification training with SFSI at sfsi.org. I don't think they do the trainings anymore. Did Barbara Corellis's Urban Tantra training, did Somatica with you. Also did the 2-year Hakomi training, which is not related to sexuality, right? Did you do Hakomi too?
No, but I mean, it shows up in so many of the adjacent to so many of the things. So it's a very like body-based, emotionally centered like model of coaching and counseling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so it can apply to sex and not. So for me, I'll say choosing to spend my time and money on doing these trainings taught me a lot about how to be more open and communicate about hard things like sexuality and or just hard feelings, right? Just like, I'm feeling really hurt right now, and how to navigate that space. And I will say, and I'm not going to give this person amazing credit, but an ex-partner and when you're looking back at that 5.5-year roller coaster, a lot of pain. I will say I am a survivor of narcissistic abuse, and part of that, the interesting part of that abuse was very heavy pressure to learn to communicate better, right? I could never get it right. It was always wrong, right? And so I'm saying I want to give a lot of credit because I don't think it needs to happen that harshly, right? Like you can be encouraged by a partner to learn how to communicate in a soft, gentle, loving way. But that did inspire me. Did a lot of work with that person to become a better communicator. But that's different from being open about sex. So that was more like communicating more like loving and clearly. And so I think they're kind of not separate. They're separate yet connected things. One is being comfortable and open talking about sex. And the other one is doing that in a not one certain style, but in a way that is loving, compassionate, gentle, thoughtful, full of clarity, etc.
Yeah, because it's really easy, and I know this. I speak from experience here. Like how delicate our sense of sexual self can be, And
Yeah.
so when you bring that into a dialogue, if you say something that is shaming, you can give somebody a complex, you can send them deep into their trigger. And I mean, on the one hand, we could say we can't make anybody do anything. And also, if we are intending and desiring to show up as like a good partner in earnest and want to have conversations that are ultimately generative and constructive, then we got to learn how to not shut our partners down, shame them. And I have like a formative experience also with an ex that I really don't want to give credit for a whole lot for.
They get it like
And
credit in a certain way. It's a certain type of credit. Yeah.
Because it was like a super toxic relationship when I was like way long time ago before this is my life. But I remember him bringing a kink to me at the very nascent stage of me understanding myself as kinky and exploring kink. And I was like, no, ew, I'm not into this. Instead of, thank you so much for being vulnerable. Thanks for telling me what you desire. Like, I feel so trusted by you. And I don't know if I'm going to be the person to meet you in this, but I'd love to figure out what our compromise, like I could have handled it with a lot more grace. And instead I was like, nope. And the one thing he did well was say that really hurt.
Yeah.
And
good.
here I am, like, I don't know, 15 years later, still telling this story, even though the rest of that relationship is like well in the archives, but that story stayed. Of like, oh, he was right.
Yeah, totally. And also you were working with what you have, right? You're not like thinking, I mean, some people can be malicious, right? I'm going to say a thing is going to hurt them, right? That does happen. I'm not going to discredit that one, but for you in that case, and also for me because I've said things at times that I didn't understand. And I was like, there's like, that's not normal. That's weird, right? Like that kind of stuff. And you're working, my guess for you, and I'm speaking for you, but I could be wrong, likely just working with what we have. And also what we don't have. Yeah, exactly. Right. And now, years later, we have more tools. Now, I will say for myself, it doesn't mean I do everything perfectly. Understanding the tools, being more open about speaking about sexuality, practicing it more. I'm not a perfectionist, so I'm not aiming for perfection. I'm just aiming to be my best, most loving self. And I still mess up. And what I will say when I do is the best thing, and if you're listening to this, the best thing I've found for myself is accountability. And I might not get it right away. I might not be like, oh, fuck, I just shamed you, right? It might take a little bit, a day or a conversation. And then for me to get out of my own way and not be prideful and be like, let me really put myself in your shoes and think about that. And that's a tool, right? Like It's a hard one, but it's a tool.
And that's where repair becomes possible instead of just staying in that ruptured state of hurt feelings and missing each other. It's like now connection becomes available once again when we can take accountability and bring genuine curiosity of like, hey, like, I get that I didn't do that well. Like, how you doing over there? What are you needing? How do we work together on this? And I feel like that right there is so far beyond so many people's comfort zones, because the idea of accountability, I think many people like confuse that with fault.
Yeah, exactly. The fight,
a horrible person, and then all the defense mechanisms clicking around that.
The fight against being wrong or bad. I understand it. I don't want to be wrong or bad either. Like, I totally get it. And we are going, we are going to make mistakes and not do things perfectly.
Yep.
I remember in Somatica, one of the things that we were told is I think it was about repair stuff, is you can never say, I will never hurt you again. Right. It's not going to be helpful because it's a lie. Like if you're super lucky, maybe you won't, but likely if you're with someone or super connected to someone, whether it's a friend, family member, business partner, or a romantic partner, or loving partner, or sex partner, for a while, the hurt will happen. And so
disappointment will happen. Different desires things not lining up. Like it's just part of being human, relating with other humans.
Yes. So what we're doing instead is like, I blew that one. Yeah, I was not my best self in that one. And I'm so sorry about that. And here's what I'm hearing. Here's the hurt that I'm hearing. Here's what I'm hearing you experience. Yeah. Here's what I'm learning from it. And here's how I'm going to try better. And that in itself, I think, like, I'm not saying you can mess up all the time. Like, go ahead, mess up all the time as long as you do that. But like that in itself is so much more powerful than just like, I'm sorry, let's move on, right?
Right. And I think part of accountability, what you just said there, is like, it's the willingness to take ownership of our things and also the willingness to be changed, to be impacted. Is it going to happen instantaneously? No. Perfectly? No. Quickly? Probably not. But it's like, at least like be willing to like look at, oh, if that's a thing in me that comes up, a defense mechanism, a way that I shut down, like, am I willing to grow?
Yeah.
Am I willing to learn how to do that better so we get to be better together?
And there's the last thing I'll add to that is we're trying to put on this like perfect picture of ourselves to the world, to our partners. The world and our partners know we're not perfect. Maybe we put people on a pedestal like some celebrity or whatever, like, oh, they're perfect. But really, like, you know, when you're choosing to let someone in closely, they will see that you're not perfect because you're not. I don't know one perfect person. I don't think it exists. And so it's okay to admit I was imperfect at this time. I could do better. Whether it's, you know, sexual communication, the actions that, you know, the way your body's moving or whatever. And I'll say that as well about sex, right? Don't try to make it perfect. Like, I got to be the best lover ever.
I mean, you said you're not a perfectionist. I am a hardcore recovering perfectionist. And I'm going to say there's no such thing. Like, it's simply not
impossible battle. Yeah.
Because like sex in particular, it's such an emergent experience. It's moment by moment, sensation by sensation, breath by breath. Like, what are we doing together? How are we co-creating? And to me, it's like I'm just not even thinking about a particular moment yet, thinking of that dynamic. It's so enlivening.
Yeah.
Like, yes, like that's where all the magic happens. And it's so not perfect.
And that's what I think what maybe scares some people, whether it's communication or not, the not knowing, right? Like we do know, you and I know that the more tools you have, the more practices that you feel confident in, the better you will likely feel being a sexual being. So you're like, okay, I kind of got this, right? But there's this part of us, like, yeah, we're just trying to, especially in terms of performance. And I'll come back to the men. I love men, right? I said the patriarchy thing. Like, there's a lot of performance stuff there, a lot of pressure about performance. And so, like, what happens often with sexual communication is, you know, say, you know, penis owner isn't performing the way they want to, but like, let's say it's an erection issue, right? Their cock isn't getting as hard as they want to. And instead of people communicating about it, they're going to pretend, hide, shut down. All of a sudden, I'm not interested in sex or whatever. And then everyone's confused, as opposed to like, hey, so my cock's just not exactly doing what I want. It's not about you. It's not personal. It's this just like, this happens sometimes. Are you still willing to like do other things like hands and mouths and toys, right? But like, again, people are not taught this.
Right. And there is so much. Okay, so I want to just use that as a jumping off point, like straight into the toys, because I know that that's a topic of conversation. But also, like, I mean, like, let's think about, instead of a toolkit, we're going to call it a toy box today.
Yes.
And there are things in the toy box, like our dildos and our vibrators and our floggers and all that stuff. And then there's also like the toys of like, how do you playfully bring some levity, bring some spark into the communication, into the banter? Like, to me, like, the more we can center any and all of this in play and experimentation, that right there is one of the greatest tools, one of the greatest gifts that we bring to our intimacy, right? Because it's like, why are we taking this so freaking seriously when it's supposed to be about pleasure?
It's fun. Yeah. We call it play for a reason.
Yes. Okay. Talking to me about toys.
All right. Oh, well, okay. So with what you were just speaking to, okay. So yeah, lots of sex toys on the market. So I have been also part of the trajectory of what I was speaking to is, when I became a certified, no, actually it's before I became a certified sex educator because of this. So when I was at San Francisco State minoring in human sexuality, one of the field trips was to Good Vibrations on Valencia.
I love that because I take my clients sometimes on field trips to Good Vibrations, but the ones here in Oakland.
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah. 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 Well, yeah. Now they have so many more. I think then maybe it was just there in Polk Street. I'm not sure. We went on a field trip and I saw, number one, you go in, it's not closeted, right? Like, we're a sex shop and there's demos for most products, meaning you can just put them on your hands. They do sex ed classes. I was super inspired by that. I was like, and then I called my mom. I was like, Mom, we should open a sex shop in Santa Cruz. She was also looking for a business investment at that time, mind you. And we opened up based on being inspired by good vibrations. We opened up Pure Pleasure. 2 years later, in 2008, we owned the brick and mortar for 12 years. And then full circle sold it to Good Vibrations in 2019. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Isn't that wild?
Story.
Yeah. Yeah. And they know that we had, based or our design for the store is based on them and their model. And yeah, anyways, it was 2019 before the pandemic. Thank goodness. We still own the online store, purepleasureshop.com, y'all. If you want to go there to get sex toys, you get 15% off with coupon code shameless sex. So this is just another part of my origin story of getting into the sex toy world, where I, thought I was going to be a sex therapist, and now I am an educator selling sex toys with my mom and other people. That's where April got her start as well. And so through that, what was really important to us is to learn a lot about sex toys. We were not, we would not sell things that we had not been able to feel on our hands or test on our own, right? We also made sure all the products were non-toxic. Right now, people can still sell toxic sex toys. The way to know if your sex toy is toxic is smell it. And if it has a smell, it is toxic. That will go into your bloodstream when you put it on your skin. If it has 0 scent, it's all good. Yes. Yeah.
No smelly sex toys.
No smellies. No. None of those. So sex toys, first of all, I'll start with pleasure is pleasure. And I already know that you know this, but to your listeners, pleasure is pleasure. If your pleasure feels good to you and you are happy with it, then that is good enough. No one else gets to tell you that it is inferior or superior or whatever. There's no hierarchy. And there are other sex educators and people, I won't say their names, that say there's a hierarchy of whatever. Like, you shouldn't have to only orgasm with a sex toy. You shouldn't only orgasm from clitoral stimulation. You should be the cervix, right? Like, I say go fuck yourself, because sure, maybe there's some experiences that will feel more vibrant and juicy, but it's quite shaming to say that there is a better way.
The word I take issue with there is should.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or if you're doing it this way, you're doing it wrong.
Right. Like there's no should here. There's a what? Whoa, I wonder, maybe, how does this feel? Like,
yeah,
and
exactly.
I think, like, weaving together communication and toys, which are kind of like our themes here. It's like a lot of us in female bodies in particular, like there is that social stigma of like, oh, well, you need a vibrator to orgasm. My hand is up, y'all. I eat my vibrator to orgasm and I love it. And I don't care.
I don't give a fuck. I mean, I can orgasm in other ways, but my best orgasm with my partner, wonderful partner of 6 years, the joke is that I always get the last orgasm. It's not the joke. It's actually just true. And meaning, like, I could have some before too. It's just like, I will always still be the finisher, which is not normal. I'm doing air quotes with normal for heterosexual relationships generally. So once he orgasms, I want his cock to stay inside of me. And then I whip out my vibrator. My favorite, I like air pulse technology. So I'm into like the Womanizer Premium 2 to be exact, but just those kind of
I'm a Vush Empress lover. Similar air.
Yeah. Yep. There's so many of them. It's like, that's why we're all so different, right? Like our bodies respond in different ways. And I think we can also learn to like a lot of toys, but not all of them. And so what I do, you don't have to. No, you don't. You have to be in all.
That's written anywhere that says you need to.
No. Or even if your partner's into a thing, you don't have to be into that exact thing. You can maybe find some other option that's similar to it, or just be a no. That's possible too. So what I like to do though, so the last orgasm, partner orgasms, stays inside of me. But his cock is a little softer, which I think is a big part of it. And then I use my air pulse technology toy. And then I actually just did this last night. I mean, I do this all the time, but last night's orgasm, oh my God, it was like, I could have kept that vibrator on my clit for hours and just kept coming. this is why I do really well with air pulse, because it doesn't numb me out. Whereas if I love wands, like I love magic wand, but I'm like kind of like a one and done orgasm person with that. That's just me. And so it's more about with that, like I'm using that, I could just keep on going. And it's more about his cock just staying hard. He's just slowly like, and then I'm orgasming. He's like pushing his cock out. But then at that point we have fingers, we have other toys. So yeah, that's like, experimental, and we have some really good conversations about that. And that's just me.
But okay, that is just you, and you are your own unique, beautiful creature who's been on a particular trajectory.
Yeah.
Also, you guys have been together for 6 years, and at some point, if not many in those 6 years, as you're saying, there's had to have been a lot of conversations to get to the point where you've now got this beautiful choreography that works for both of you. And I'm saying both because I know you well enough to know that it wouldn't be happening for 6 years if it didn't work for him too.
Hell no. Two-way street fully.
Right. And so how have you, like, inside your own relationship, like, did you also just find a unicorn who was like super skilled to begin with, or have you helped him along?
Oh yeah. Well, so I can speak, I won't say his name, but I can speak for him. Because I will say this on my own podcast. He was in a relationship / married for 20 years. So when we actually started seeing each other, he was already 40. I think I'm 40 now. I guess I was 34. Shit. And I was only like his 5th or 6th sexual partner.
Wow.
And so to me, I'm a little bit like red alert. But I also wasn't. And he already arrived to me like in a beautiful package. I'm just kidding. It's not how it happened, but
he's very adorable.
Yeah, it's very adorable. Yeah, you've met him. Very surprisingly skilled at all communication in general. Also, he's an attorney. He's a criminal defense attorney. So he has that skill as well. Like, he works with people. But if you look at his history in relationships, there's not a lot of it that would suggest sexual communication was a regular part of it or easy. So he's kind of an anomaly. But here's the thing. He was a fanboy. He loved the podcast before. So he had already done his research about what I'm into. Shout out with that.
But I love how you just went from and he's an attorney, so he's got some communication skills, and in a different field, like the crossover here, and I'm always talking about this with erotic wholeness of my body of work. It's like, yeah, you can come because you want, you can come because you want to learn something that's going to, or many things to enhance your intimate life and your sex, but there's no way it's not going to influence other aspects of your life. And the reverse is true. So you can take skills from other aspects of your life, and if you just pause to think about it, make them applicable to the bedroom.
Like as an attorney for him, he has to be a very good listener, right? You have to really hear your clients, listen to all the details, all their thoughts, feelings, experiences, emotions. Then you're making sure you get it right. There's like the reiterating or documenting.
So important when we're talking.
It is. And this applies to the same thing, right? To sexuality. Those are really powerful tools, like the listening part, and then making sure that you're not just running with your own judgments or opinions or taking it personal, right? Like, okay, here's what I'm hearing you say. So he had already arrived with that. He already, honestly, I'll say he was already, you've seen him before, a wild, freaky person who was just a little bit closeted, and he finally gets to be in a relationship.
A little invitation, a little permission.
Yeah. All of a sudden, he's in a relationship where there's no fear or shame. Now, I can't, as I was saying earlier, I have shamed him, at least I can think of once or twice about sexuality, where I just didn't realize. I was like, oh, fuck, what, Amy, you seriously did that? And so we were able to work through it. So not perfect. He's also done a lot of men's work too, which is coming back to the patriarchy thing, learning how to speak, to manage and advocate for, not hide or get rid of, but manage and advocate for anger, vulnerability, all of these pieces. So that was helpful. So my situation is a little different, because of the situation with him. He kind of arrived prepared, I'd say.
And I mean, which is beautiful. Like, the last thing I would want is for you to misrepresent anything. And to anybody listening who's like, ooh, that's not me, or that's not my partner, like, okay, we still got you. Like, that this is not like a lost cause. Like, everything that we've discussed thus far ultimately is learnable and teachable. So the question is, do you want to learn?
Exactly. And one thing that has helped me, for me personally right now, it's more like if I'm like triggered or activated, meaning like I have less ability to speak, but it's similar to being afraid of talking about sex, where instead of thinking that I need to say everything right now or having the answers, I can just say, I have a feeling. Like I have a feeling, or I have hard feelings, or I have some emotional thing is going on. And so I need to stop, press pause, talk about it, or walk away lovingly for a little bit to go and think about it. And if I was someone where it was really scary to talk about sex, like from my brain, like just from thoughts, what I would do in that moment is go and write it down and write it out. And I would come back and say, okay, this is really scary to read to you because it's about sex. And I'm also afraid that you'll be disappointed, but I'm going to read it. So there are ways to still be, shy, fearful, and also like not confident in your tools or even what you're thinking or feeling.
Totally.
And still, not interject. Sorry. Introduce that for a smidge,
because like the example you just gave of like writing it down and holding your little notebook and reading it, and the nerves
and speaking to like, I'm a little scared, but
I'm scared. I'm afraid you're gonna have a reaction. I'm afraid I'm not gonna say this well. Like, when we bring that layer of vulnerable, transparent, just like, here's what's realness to another person, I mean, straight up, unless they're just like a sociopath, like,
that's a little different.
but like, who isn't going to feel empathy in that moment? Who isn't going to be like, oh, that's what's going on for you? Like, I'm here, talk to me.
Yeah.
Right. And those are the moments where the growth happens. Those are the moments where the intimacy deepens. Like, it just couldn't be any other way.
Yeah. I would say, like, if there's, some top words of advice would be that we talked about, like, not trying to be perfect or pretend you are. And also outing. I think of this is another terrible example, but when I started waiting tables when I was, 20 in the service industry, I would go to tables and be like, hey, just so you know, I'm new. I've only been doing this for a little bit. So just like, I would say it in a nicer, not like, hey, what's up? But I'd out myself, like if you are afraid or you feel like you're in your head or you're shut down or timid, there's something really powerful in outing, not in like a victim-y way, like poor me, but more like, hey, this is a thing for me. Can you be patient with me? And it lands.
Large, like, it's making me think. I did body storytelling a few months ago.
Oh, you did it?
I did.
That's amazing. Oh my God, that's incredible.
Stage. Like, I got up on the stage and there's like a few hundred people in the room. And everybody's
only
clapping.
A few hundred.
A few hundred. And I'm like, all right, y'all, I am nervous. Like, I think those were the first words out of my mouth. And it made everything that I did for the next 12 minutes so much easier.
Yep.
Because instead of me holding my nervousness alone, I had literally just shared it with several hundred people who got to then hold it with me.
And none of them were like, oh, wow, she's nervous. I'm going to judge her. Darshana is not trustworthy. We don't like her, right? They're like, thank you, because I can resonate with that. And, maybe if you're doing a TED Talk, like, you can't do that. But I don't know. I'm pretty sure you could if it could be a TED Talk, especially about vulnerability and all that stuff. So
I'm taking notes for my future TED Talk.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's imagine a scenario where somebody who is not you and your partner, who is a little newer to all this, wants to talk about sex more. And maybe what they want to talk about is like they desire something different. For instance, the introduction of a toy or a curiosity they have. Like, what are some of your like basic, like, here are the steps to take to open that whole big, beautiful can of worms up?
Yeah, totally. So this is, I also co-authored a book. It's Shameless Sex, the book. It's more like a choose your own adventure, but we can't say that because it's trademarked. So choose your own pleasure path. If you remember choose your own adventure books, you can choose the outcome. So it's based on the outcome. Instead of us saying like, you have an issue with orgasming, here's what you should do. More like, what's the outcome you want? Go to this page if it's this outcome, this outcome. But we were talking about this in the book, and meaning, so there's talking about sex, and then there's talking about sex. So if you haven't hit the latter first, right, where even talking about having the conversation about sex isn't comfortable for you, that's where you would start, right? That would be like, yeah, and a lot of people can resonate with that. Like, if you've never, there's people who've been together for 20 years or, had 8 kids and have not actually talked about sex.
Totally.
So,
I mean, and in my experience, I actually find that to be even more true with longer term couples, where it's like, we've gotten this far without ever having these conversations, and we have no skills to have these conversations.
And then it's kind of scary at that point, because you're like, oh my God, all these years, now it's even more awkward. I hear you, and that there's no better time than now, right? Well, there are sometimes better times based on people's moods and energy and all that stuff, but
which is a part of the pre-talking, right? Yes. It's like, you don't just want to like launch into this, you actually want to get buy-in and make sure it's optimal conditions.
Yes. So talking about sex, and also just starting a conversation about sex that might be potentially challenging, scary, heavy, would be you already kind of stated this, but permission, right? So, hey, here's something that I've been thinking about, and I really advocate for advocating for the level of importance, right? I could say, hey, this is something I've been thinking about, and you could be like, oh yeah, it's kind of a big deal from like this, and it's really important to me, and I'd like to talk to you about this, and it's really scary. But so you're inviting, and then you're saying the permission piece, is now a good time, and if not, okay, maybe we can schedule a time and then check in, then not be set on it, like maybe that won't be a good time either. But you're giving the other person or people permission to engage in something that could be heavy for them as well, so they don't feel cornered or attacked. So it could be the talking about sex. Hey, I'd just like to talk to you about sex, or I mean, like, just have the conversation. Sorry, the talking about sex would be, I'd like to talk to you about us talking about sex. Like,
getting
right?
Very meta.
Yeah, very meta. And then there's the, okay, now, say that goes well, right? I said that lovingly, gave permission. You said now is a good time, and now we're talking about sex. And so in this scenario, the scenario you brought in was the sex toys. Like, I want to bring in some sex toys. I don't know if you're into it.
Different in our sexual dynamic, you know,
new
position, new toy, like new role play, whatever it is.
Yeah, and also in our book, we talk about big asks and small asks. I think of big asks as like, not when we're naked, vulnerable, right? Like, if I'm going to say, hey, what do you think about non-monogamy? Let's do it, over coffee on a walk, versus like, can you touch my nipple this way as opposed to that way? That's a small ask, can be in the bedroom. And then we also have the CONNECT formula, which is an acronym. I love acronyms that can help you to guide yourself through any just loving conversations, whether it's about sex or not. So next, though, I would start with an appreciation. Now that my partner said, I'm open to this, I would share something that's really good, because I want their system, and no bullshit. Don't bullshit them. Don't be like, oh, we have the best sex ever, if you don't feel that way, right? Don't say that.
Yeah. And then the appreciation can be like, I really adore you, and I adore us, and I care about our relationship.
Yeah. And that's why I'm talking to you about this. Right? I love our connection, and I want to stay or be more connected to you. And then you're following with the word "and" is a little bit better than "but," because "but" can freak people out a little bit. What's going next? And what I'm really desiring, I don't know. I watched some porn. They were using some sex toys. It looks really hot. I saw some vibrators and even a butt plug, and I got kind of excited, and I'd like to try them, but I'm curious. And I'm curious. Sorry, I already fucked it up. And I'm curious, what do you think? Like, yeah, exactly. I'm not perfect. And I'm curious, what do you think? Would you be open to that? What are your thoughts about it? Do you have experience with sex toys? And then now you're listening. You're in listening role to whatever their opinion, thoughts, or feedback is. If they're like, that's not normal, that's gross, I don't know why you'd need that, that's I mean, that's a whole separate conversation. That's when I would actually ask, I would get curious about that if I heard that. I'd be like, I'm really curious as to, why you think that. Like, I'm not telling you why that you can't, but why do you not think using sex toys is normal or something? But what you'll likely receive is something likely, right? Something more along those, oh, I never thought about that, or I don't know about that, or, a little more like edginess, or you might get like a fuck yes, right? But you're
not right there. Like, I mean, we can't know how it's going to go, but I feel like it's so important to include what's the best thing that could happen here. You being brave and you being vulnerable actually gives permission to your partner to open up more of themselves, and you both realize this thing that you haven't been talking about, you both want it, and then you can have it.
You're like, oh my God, is that easy? Shake and bake. And that, if you have that experience,
I've wanted to try this for years.
Yeah, if you have that, those positive experiences where you take the risk of speaking openly, lovingly, honestly about sex, right? And you're met in a way that feels really safe and, secure, lands, that in itself will boost your confidence, right? I know we can learn all the tools and practices about being confident about speaking openly about sexuality. And there's a big part of it is being met in a way where you're where someone is at least validating or listening to you. They don't have to agree with you, but so if you're in a situation where that's not happening, right, you're not getting that part, then that might be a working piece for that relationship. But yeah, it can open up all the things. Now, oh my God, now we can talk about all these things, but it's this constant listening back and forth, ongoing conversation, and it's a negotiation, right? If I'm like the butt plug, right? I want to do anal, and I was like, butt plugs sound really cool, and they're like, ooh, I don't know about anal for me. Let's speak it as the person being penetrated, maybe. I don't know. I've never had anything in my ass before. Maybe though we could just start with like some fingers outside, like not going inside, to see how that goes. And so and then we can play with that and meet each other in some way that works for both of us or all of us, depending on how many people you're playing with.
And I want to highlight what just happened there, because obviously you're able to model this with a lot of skill, and that piece for everybody listening, what Amy just did right there is such an important thing for all of us. Like, if someone presents something that you don't want to do, instead of shutting them down and instead of shutting it down, what's your counter offer? What's your pivot? We always have options if we're willing to take them. And I feel like that's where a lot of people really end up selling themselves short and cutting things off prematurely, where it's like, oh, I don't want that, therefore nothing.
Yeah, but done. Nope.
But and even if you're like, well, I don't think that's for me, and I don't totally know where my yes is, but I'm open to staying in the conversation. That right there becomes such a gift, because it keeps possibility alive.
Yeah, I'd say, and there isn't always a way for 2+ people to have all their needs met. No. But there often, or I won't say almost always, there often are options for things that might not be exactly what you want. But what we don't want to do is for one person to give up all of their boundaries or needs, right? Or for either person to do that. And so the word compromise, I generally don't use that for this. It's more like the leaning in. Here's what I can lean into. Here's what you can lean into. How could we meet here? And you might try that thing and then more.
Right? What can be in that
exactly
area.
Yeah, I love that, because I'm a heady person. That's perfect.
Me too. I like a good visual.
Yeah. And then also, like you said before, right? Like thanking people. Thank you so much. Even if it's like, I'm not into that, it's just not on the table. Still thanking them, reminding them that you're grateful or proud of them or whatever for being so open with you. And also, it's a gift. It's such a gift when someone opens up about something that's really difficult for them, whether it's sexuality or not. You are a very lucky person to receive that. And so to share that with that person, like, I feel so, thank you so much. I feel so honored that you are sharing this with me, or you trust me, whether I'm into it or not. It goes a long way.
Yes. And we are so honored to get to learn from you, Amy. This is so fun. I always love talking to you.
I love talking to you too. That's why you're always invited back on Shameless Sex.
I can't wait. Sex. And okay, so we've got your book. We've got your podcast. I know you guys do retreats.
Yes.
Anything you want to say about any of the ways that people can find you? And we will link everything.
The easiest way is just to go to shamelesssex.com. And that is where everything will be. The podcast, the book that our pandemic baby, the book that we are very proud of. And you can also get the audio of it if you're not like into reading the pages. And our retreats too. Oh, so I'll speak to the podcast first. We release weekly episodes. We started in June of 2017, and we have never missed one Tuesday. So we have bonus episodes. It's hard to tell, but I know we're over 450 episodes. It is all free. It's on all of your platforms. You can go wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And so we love that. And then, there's the book, Shameless Sex. You can learn more about that on our website or just wherever you buy your books. And yes, retreats is something that we started doing 2 years ago. We had big requests for that. So we do all women's retreats, and then we do couples retreats, and couples retreats is for all orientations. Although we generally get more straight couples, I will say that. What we've done them in Costa Rica, Mexico, but we are just focusing on keeping it easy for us and everyone else. So as of now, we're sticking to Palm Springs area because it's a desert and it's hot and sexy.
There you go.
So we do
hot, sexy desert.
Yeah, exactly. Great sunsets. And so we do 3 nights, 4 days retreats. Our next ones are in October 2026. And they are already selling. So if you'd like to sign up, just go to shamelesssex.com. You can learn more. It's a mixture of relaxation, play, educational. It is not a sex party. It's not an orgy, everyone. Neither of the retreats, whether it's all women or couples. We have to be clear about that because we get emails about that one, whether you wanted that or not. And you also always leave with community, right? Like, you leave with new best friends, family. And speaking to this topic, a lot more confidence in talking openly about sex. That is almost, I can't guarantee it, but almost a guarantee if you come to those retreats.
I think that's fair. And again, we will have all the links and a generous $200 off code in the show notes. I'll put the pure pleasure codes in there. Everything will be there so that folks can get more. I am so grateful. I can't say it enough. I think I've been on Shameless Sex 5 times now. And
I think it's like 5+. Yeah.
It is a gem. The fact that you all have been devoting yourselves to this for so many years, and the conversations you facilitate and the heart that you bring. I hope everybody who listened here today feels that if they don't already know your podcast. And please go listen to Amy. And Amy, is there any last little nugget, anything that you want to leave folks with before we say goodbye today?
I already said pleasure is pleasure.
And it could be like an echo, or it could be something that like didn't get mentioned.
Let me think about this. Okay, so pleasure is pleasure. A reminder that there's a reason why this profession of sexuality is vast and wide. And people often ask us, and you'll probably get this question, Darshana, will you ever run out of topics on sexuality? And the answer is no, because we're also learning more information. Every educator has different information, but that's not what my focus is. Everyone is so different. April would say, just like fingerprints, there's like no two alike, right? And so whatever you have been comparing yourself to, including what I'm saying about myself, I'm inviting you to not do that. And if you don't know what you want or like, then there's lots of tools for you to dive deeper into that. But please invite yourself to not get stuck in trying to be what someone or society is saying sexuality should be. You are your own human being. And as long as it's consensual sex, it is good sex. And it can take time to really feel that and own that, or like me, be a journey forever. But just if that's something that you feel like is in your way, you can look into that and just know that whoever you are is wonderful, as long as you're a consensual being. And there's so many possibilities for you to dive deeper into that.
Yes, you are your own unique snowflake fingerprint. Yes, yes. Thank you for that. And for you, dear listener, thank you for giving us your attention, for tuning in. I hope you have loved this and have taken notes and have so many things to now go take into your life. If you did, please leave a rating, a review, share it with somebody that you love, because that is how we get these conversations in front of more people and create the world that we want to be living in, where there's a hell of a lot of sex and not a lot of shame. How about that one?
Steak and bake to that one.
We'll see you back next time.